But it teaches you enough city smarts and reading the same way. So
I've been reading this book, The Dead of Winter by Sarah Clegg. It's nonfiction. I read another nonfiction book by her earlier this year called Women's Lore, 4,000 Years of Sirens, Serpents, and Succubi. This was so good. It is a 4,000-year examination of different symbols and figures in world mythologies and what they've meant to different peoples. It goes from like ancient Mesopotamia to Greco-Roman mythology and then moves up to England. It's just also incredibly accessible writing. And I had such a fun time reading it. The footnotes are incredibly witty. And it speaks about all these things in a way that feels so relevant. It connects it to modern notions of gender and sexuality. And so I was really excited when I saw that she was releasing another book in November called The Dead of Winter. I haven't finished the book, but so far I was so gagged to find out that trick-or-treating on Halloween comes from a Christmas tradition. There was this activity, it has a ton of different names, but it's often known as guising, where folks would go from door to door, come inside, perform for you, and then not leave until you gave them a sweet treat. And they would do these performances dressed as demons and monsters and characters often associated with the mythology of Christmas, like Beelzebub. And so in the Middle Ages, there was also this tradition of souling on Halloween, which is when you would also go from door to door, promising to pray for somebody's soul if you got a cake in return. And so eventually, that tradition of dressing up as monsters and demons just snuck into Halloween, and people started dressing like that, going from door to door. I love that so much of the Northern Hemisphere just accepts the lore of this time of year and embraces all of these strange traditions. Yeah, I love it. So interesting. I don't have any plans to go guising this year, unfortunately, but I am excited to get out and experience Christmas traditions in the city for the first time. I've never explored New York at Christmas time, and I want to see what it's like, even if our traditions have moved very far away from what I'm reading about right now. I worked at a summer camp this year, and the camp director recently posted on her Instagram asking if anybody wanted antique books that she's giving away. And I've been looking forward to this for so long, and it's finally arrived. So we're gonna do a little unboxing video. That's what this is. Also, don't you just love like a package, like a nice parcel? You know what I mean? Like, this is so dense and heavy, and it's paper. And something about it just itches my brain. I thought it was 2 books because it was so dense, but it's actually one massive book. Oh, this is so lovely. It's a book of songs. And the first one I flipped open to is called By a Broom, which I'm obsessed with. I'm very excited about this. I'm very much looking forward to... There are paw prints on the back of this. I think the camp director said that she was sorting through some of her grandma's belongings and trying to figure out loving homes for her grandma's antique books because she couldn't keep all of them but wanted them to be with someone who would appreciate them. So I deeply appreciate this. It's so lovely. Gosh, what a treat. So I finished The Dead of Winter. It was phenomenal, obviously. One thing I was really excited to come upon in the book was a chapter called Christmas Witches, and the picture that it shows on the chapter page is of a choir of girls who are all dressed as Saint Lucia, which is something I recognized right away because that was a tradition that we had in my family. When I was really little, my older sister would dress up as Saint Lucia. She would be the first one to wake up on Christmas morning. She would put on this wreath crown with little electric candles in it, and she would carry this tray of eggnog or milk and Stollen, which is this German Christmas bread. It's sort of like fruitcake with powdered sugar on top. A hot take, I think it's delicious and I love it and I have it every year. And then she would walk around the house and she would wake up my brother and I wearing the crown, wearing this long white gown. And yeah, that's St. Lucia. I had actually never heard the story of St. Lucia before reading this book, and it sounds like it's wrapped up in a lot of patriarchal, misogynistic ideals of womanhood, like virginity and purity. But it also turns out that it's wrapped up in a bit of spooky witch lore as well. St. Lucia's night was usually midwinter. The date, I think, varied depending on whether you were doing the following the Julian calendar or the Gregorian calendar. But the idea was that it would happen around the solstice and would represent light returning, bringing light to the world. And so I learned that people were also afraid of witches traveling in covens through the sky around that time of year. And in order to sort of appease them and make sure that they left their family alone or bless them with good health, people would leave out food for the witches. And the witches, being magical, would eat the food and then replace it, and it would be exactly as it was when you left it. But if you left it out that night, you sort of knew that your home was going to be protected and that your children weren't going to be taken and that their intestines weren't going to be eaten. But as scary as the lore was, many women in particular romanticized this idea of leaving home and flying through the sky liberated, which is no surprise. That sounds lovely. I always loved the tradition that we had where my sister would dress up as St. Lucia. And I always loved the way we, without being able to articulate this, I loved how we brought light to the darkest time of the year with lights on the Christmas tree or with candles in my older sister's wreath. It feels very full circle to learn that so much of this is wrapped up in ideas about hope and light and freedom and magic. Yeah, there's so much lore. And I think that's what's getting me through this time of year. The seasonal affective symptoms feel a little less potent this year because of that.